some players are from the age of 8 until, we talked about Rich James, for example, academy at 8 and all the way to the first team. But for some of us, it's another journey. So relax, take the time, make sure you enjoy it.
Welcome to Behind the Booth. This is the podcast where we explore youth football from a parent perspective.
Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity for us, actually, because we rarely get a chance to speak to parents of players who've actually been through this journey and still on the journey. So welcome, Alain and Vanessa, to Feast. We're so excited to talk to you today and hear about your journey so far. So please tell us a little bit about yourselves and where it all started from. Where did the love of sport or football specifically come from?
First of all, thank you for having us. It's a real pleasure. As I said, my name is Alain de Fils. I was born in Kinshasa, in Congo. I moved to Belgium at the age of 10 and started playing football all immediately. I've been passionate about football. I was watching every single name on TV. There was not as many games on TV. So there was not as many games as nowadays, but I've always been passionate, playing in the house, outside of the house. So that's where my passion for football started.
As for me, I'm Congolese as well. I'm Belgian, but from Congolese origin as well. I was born in Belgium, and I was not sporty at all, and I didn't like football at all. So that was really straight. And because I came from a big family, we are 5 girls and 2 boys, my father and my brothers liked football. But as soon as they were putting football on TV or something, we were just like, no, we don't want to see it. So the way I came to love football is when I met Alain. We were like 20 something. And then it's from him that I got that passion from football. And now, as you say, sometimes it's scary because it's like I'm more into football than me. So it's like, wow, what have I done? But that's how it all started.
Oh, wonderful.
The expert in the house now.
The expert. I love that. That's fantastic. So tell us about your journey with your son, Lucas. How did that all start? And just take us through a brief sort of update of where you are today, where he is today in terms of his football.
Sure. So we arrived in the UK when Lucas was 5. And it was funny because at the time we thought that you could just phone up the local club and register your child. But eventually, so at the age of 5, it was tough for him to start playing football. We got a French setup, somebody close to the French lycée organizing some football. He started there, and at the age of 7, joined AFC Wimbledon after a successful trial. And just to sum up the journey of Lucas, because it's been a real roller coaster. So at the age of 7, he signs for Wimbledon. Then by the age of 9, they think he's a goalie. He signed as an outfield player. They think he's a goalie rather than an outfield player. We kind of fight that. We say he has to do both. At the age of 12, they release him as a goalie. Oh, well, because he didn't want to be a goalie. And then we moved to Isher, where we are now. He joins a local club. Then at the age of 15, he actually joins the Chelsea Academy as a midfielder, as a central midfielder. Wow. So from a released goalie to central midfielder at Chelsea Academy. 16, he signs a scholarship with Southampton Academy. At 18 or 19, he signs a 1-year pro with Southampton. And after that, he left Southampton. We went to Belgium with him. I mean, he went to Belgium, played for the reserve team of a first division club there, Jupiler League club, and went on loan, played professionally in second division in Holland. And now I came back here. We're a little bit like in one of the lows of the highs and lows, because now I'm the free agent. That's kind of a summary. Everything's squashed into.
Yeah, you've summarized it well.
Oh, I love that. So there's just so much hope in that as well. That kind of release, then came back. Did you go into a kind of grassroots club at 12 when he was released as a goalie? And did he play as a goalie?
No,
or did he just go, I'm done being a goalie? I would have.
No. He was like, when he went to that grassroots club, to the local club, no, never. He never wanted to goal anymore. It was when we left Wimbledon, that was it. about it. So he was just playing as an outfield player. And it was a bit tough the first year because coming from an academy setup with AFC Wimbledon, when you go back to the grassroots, it's kind of tough. The pitches are different and the kids are
Rough.
rough. It's like what it was. He was telling us it was like being on the walls or something like that.
We call it the wild, wild west of grassroots.
But so the first year he did well, but it was quite tough. But the second year, I think he was used to it. So he blossomed. He was really completely different players. So I think that's when Chelsea scouts were all over Surrey and all the Southwest London anyway. That's when they scouted him, and then he went to Chelsea. So, but it was a good experience for him. I think it's interesting for them to do that. Because when you come back after that, when you come back again in this like academy setup, you could see that he knows what it is, how it is outside. So it was, I think it was a good experience for him.
I think it's great because when you play academy at that age, it's like friendlies, right? There's no league, there's no points. And when you come to grassroots, especially it was a very ambitious team. The coach was an ex-pro, an ex-Premier League player. So every game was really a must-win. And in the academies, parents are not allowed to shout. They're not allowed. There, wow.
Kat will know all there is to know about grassroots because she has youngsters that are in there. So, is that right, Kat?
I've been there this morning.
I mean, that in itself is amazing that he was able to stay in grassroots till the age of 15. Because again, a lot of youngsters, when they do get picked up, they stay all the way through. So what do you think helped him in that period? Do you think that to hone his craft that then allowed him to sort of progress in an academy quite late on, as some people would think?
Yeah. So the good thing is we've managed to find some he was playing for the academy on Saturday or Sunday, I forgot. Then he had like 1 or 2 training sessions a week. So that left time to do some extra work. And he did. So he joined, I can say that Nigel James, the father of Rhys James.
And
Lauren James. Yeah. He has another football academy where he takes a few academy players and work with them on specific
extra work.
So that helped him a lot for those 2 years to combine like the rough, go for it type of football with a lot of skills that they had to work on during the week with the Nigel James Academy. So that was really, really helpful.
Yeah, I think that's made a lot in his football. Yeah. And it was a good setup as well because with the Nigel James Academy, because it was a lot of players playing already in academy, but doing that extra work with him. So it was really beneficial for him as well.
I love that. So he was training as well at a really good level.
Yes.
In that time. I love that. And so at 15 he went to Chelsea, and how did he then get to Southampton?
So 15 he went to Chelsea. Chelsea was an interesting time because it's just before they made the decisions about scholarship. So we always say it was a little bit unlucky in terms of timing because it didn't have much time to kind of show what it could do. And the interesting bit is it was a very, very narrow decision because, all the Chelsea players of his age got the answer, I don't know, sometimes in November. Yeah. And they decided to keep him for an extra month because they were not really sure. So it was really, really a tight decision. And at the end, they decided not to offer him the scholarship. And when he joined Chelsea, he actually had an offer from Southampton at the same time. So we came back to that offer, and thankfully they did open.
Because at the time when they offered him a contract as an under-15 at Chelsea, so we had the same offer from Southampton. And because of the, let's say, practical side of the thing, because we live in Isha in Surrey, and we live like just by car, it's like 10 minutes from Cobham. So it was easy.
Ideal.
Yeah, I could go there. Yeah. So that's why. So, but when we came back to Southampton, there was still open to
and with
Lucas.
It was an exam year as well.
Yes,
exams as well. So just as parents supporting the journey thus far to this point, what's going through your mind about the whole football journey? How have you managed to this point or that point navigate it from what's going on in your mind as to the future?
It's difficult to have a strict answer like that. I think it's complicated in the sense when everything is fine, it's fine for everybody. We are happy, he's happy, we go see the games, everything's going well. When it's not the case, when he's injured or he has no club or he has a club but he's not playing. So we know that for him it's really hard. But for us as well, it's the same. So I think we're going through the same kind of emotions. And sometimes we are like not depressed, but quite kind of low as well. But we know that we need to be strong, especially for him. So I think it's more or less the same kind of we're going through the same like roller coaster emotions as well. I don't know if you.
So we get the view that it's a few things, right? The first one is that I think we have to be prepared for tough times. Mm-hmm. If you, I mean, for somebody who wants to stay in this game, right? I think even, and we've noticed some of the players, for example, I'm from Chelsea, who've always had it like everything was great and perfect until the age of 15. Then when they get a setback, some of them actually leave football altogether. We were really surprised just to hear some super talents, and 1 or 2 years later, we say, well, they don't play football anymore. So I think to stay in the game for a long time, we have to be prepared mentally as a family. It takes a big toll on the family, and we can talk about the practicalities of, I mean, and especially Vanessa, who had to go to the training sessions when he was very young and taken from school to a trial there, etc.
So you the taxi.
Exactly. There's a lot of commitment as a family, and it's a question of not being there to support, not putting extra pressure, because sometimes you make the mistake. And at the age of 16, for us, he left home, go all the way to Southampton. So we call him, we're on the phone. So obviously, as parents, you ask, so how's training been? Are you in the squad for next weekend? And when 2 or 3 weeks in a row, your child tells you, well, I'm not in the squad, actually, you don't really know how to approach that. So you decide not to put extra pressure and to talk about anything but football when you talk to them, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, we are super fascinated about this because no one really talks about how parents have to be super resilient. And we have all our own anxiety and worries about the journey and not to bring those to the table, right? How have you guys managed to, like, what have you seen about that? What have you learned about yourselves?
So we've done quite a lot. So first of all, that's trial and error, right? So you're at a distance, you try not to put some negative pressure, negative energy. But then we've always been fascinated by the mental side of everything we achieve in life, whether it's professional life, sports. At the end of the day, there are a lot of commonalities, right? So the stress that a child can face at a very early age in that setup, sometimes it's the parallel of what we can face in our professional lives as well. And because of that, we've been reading a lot. And at the end of the day, Vanessa and I actually went to the US to follow a proper, shall we call that a training?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, some sort of a training. It's led by a man called Lani Basham, who's written a lot of books. And one of these books is Parenting Champions. So that attracted our attention immediately. What are the do's and don'ts as a parent when your child is in a competitive environment? So we went there, read the book, followed the training. We actually have a little diploma.
Teach us.
So these are the type of things that we try to apply in our own day-to-day.
Yes.
So can you tell us a bit more about what you learned from that training that other parents can maybe also put some of those practical things in place for them? What stood out for you about that training?
Yes, for example, it's small. If I just give example of small thing, usually we need to use like a diary that we call, and I'm remembering the name of the day, a performance journal. When the kids or the young adult, every day when you have training or games, You need to write, and let's say the date, which game it is, what time you wake up, and then you did a bit of training. What were your expectations for that game, for example, that day? Or if it's football, maybe it was football that today I want to do, or if I was training to free kicks, I want to do my free kicks like better or something like that. And then after the game, you write what you have done during the game, what you thought could have been done better, and then you put a target for the next one, for example. You need to do that every day, and then I think at the end of the week, you need to read it, for example. And then also for us parents, mainly because we're talking about parents, what the parents need to do in those cases, for example, on a game, at a day or something, the things to say, not to say, for example. And when we went there in US, we realized that there was a lot of things that we say, but we thought were normal, that was actually like harming the kids, because the way you put it, the way you say it. So there is a lot of in that, for example. Even some small sentences, when we say to kids, you need to go there and put your 130%. That's not good, because you don't know how it goes in the mind. You just need to say, put on your 100%. Because if you say you put 140, it's like, if I do 100, but I need to put 40 more, you will start to overplay. Right. And then usually when they started to do that, you could see that we lose completely the way they play usually.
Wow.
But so you need to stay there. Or I don't know what more examples.
More details about the questions asked
that you
after a game, just really focusing on the positives.
Rather than the negatives.
Yes, I think as parents, me also, having played football, I was always, before that, focusing on the negatives. This is what you haven't done, and this is what you should have done, etc. And for example, there they give an approach of saying this, right? So instead of asking the child, what do you think you could have done better? Let's start with the positive. What was right? What did you enjoy? What did you enjoy? So that comes from inside rather than the judgment, external judgment.
And then he will be happy straight away to say, I did this well. That you say, that was great as well. And then, for example, he by himself will say to you then, but you know what, I think next time, maybe if I do this other thing, that will be better.
No.
Instead of us, we were coming sometimes, when you took the corner over there, that was not really good. So exactly, but it's just small things.
Small things.
That, yes.
That's so interesting. So in terms of how Lucas kind of adapted, so for example, the journaling that you mentioned, was he on board with that? Was he doing it? Was he writing things down? Was he?
He was really fun enough. Usually they are. He started doing it well, and then sometimes I think especially when he was on the lows and we were saying it, he was not really doing it, but it was like on and on. Yes. But the other kids that you worked with, they weren't doing it properly. Yes.
Wow. And then in terms of those things that you say after the game, do you see a difference because of the new questions that you were asking? Could you see them working?
Yes. I think it creates a healthier conversation after the game. Because when we talk, and that's part of the journaling as well, we wouldn't just say, hey, you played well, or you've done well, or you were great. It's about a bit specifics. It's really about specifics. So what are the things that you believe went really well for you during the game? What did you really enjoy? And it's spontaneously fame, right? Spontaneously. Then you need to bring that energy of like game equal joy, right? Something I've done. Oh, I've done this. Remember, there was a time where I did this. Oh, yeah, that was great. What else? Okay, and then the next question, for example, would come, okay, but what are the things you've learned? What are the things you think you should have learned? And the last question is, what are we going to do about it? So what have you learned? What are we going to do about it? So I went there, was about to, I might have crossed a bit earlier. Okay, good. So what do you think can be done about that?
Yeah, it's drawing it out from within them, isn't it? Rather than, I don't know about you, but when I go to someone with a problem and they kind of solve it, it's like not really what I wanted. When someone just lets you speak and come up with a solution, right? It's much more empowering. Yes. And it's so it's so easy for us parents, like you say, when we're on that journey, we're in the car with him so much to match his back, to not kind of dive in with what we thought about it or what we heard different people saying or coaches or feedback. But like you're saying, to draw it out of them, I love that. I love that you saw that. And so from when talk a bit about the highs and lows. Like, how do you feel like, what's some of the wisdom that you saw about navigating highs and lows with Lucas? What did you see even in him that, you know, you felt like, okay, that's...
I think there's a moment where I'm talking, especially when he was away from home, where you have to really pay attention and recognize the lows, right? So when you know your child, you know that sometimes for us, for Lucas, for example, is like not being very active on our chats, you know? It's because I have to say, maybe that's his character, but he would always put a brave face. So we would call him, he would always say, no, everything is all right. But then you have to listen a little bit, you know, how he says it. Does he go into details? And I think, to be fair, sometimes a few years later, as he matured and he looks back at it, he told us how low were his lows. Right? We didn't really realize because he was living away from home, but we then found out how difficult it was for him. And sometimes they don't want to say it. So I think as parents, the very first thing I would say is like, really pay attention, really listen, really make sure they're all right. Because everybody in a football club wants to put a brave face, right? Everybody's like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm going to do well. I'm ready for the next one. But gosh, what we found out later was, oh my gosh, that was really low.
Yes, I think so. And now, because he's also a very quiet boy, because he's very quiet, he likes to stay at home when he's not doing his football, he's not the one going to social or something. So that was a little bit difficult in that sense as well, because he was not saying anything. So, and then we started to realize that, and I was saying these small things, you know, you want, because we have a family of four, so he has a sister, a little sister as well. So we have our group chat of the four of us. So we could see that for several days he's not in it, but we, the three of us, are still chatting. So, you know, a small thing like that, we realize that, if he's not here participating, there is something there. Or when we call him, he was like, he would be yes, no, well, yes, so kind of things. So, but now what we can see as well, because he went there when he was really young. Now he's 21. So, but we can see that his character has changed as well. He's more, now he speak more freely about that. And then he would tell us things, as Alain said, that after like years before that, we realized just now that, you know, when I was in Southampton, it was like that. Let's say the first year, for example, when he was not playing at all. But, you know, he's 21 now, but he was there, he was like 17. Yeah. So we say, wow. We knew that it was not ideal, but we didn't know that it was that bad, for example.
And how do you manage as a parent? You talked about that first period when he went away to Southampton, and then he's gone away again to Netherlands, Belgium. How have you coped with that separation from your youngster? Because a lot of parents at 16, when their youngsters are in an academy going into scholarships, they're going into digs, they're going to host families. How do you prepare yourself for that, and how does it feel?
I think we didn't really have the time to prepare for that. But for Lucas, when he went to Southampton the first year, I think it was a bit painful because he was away, but he was not that far, let's say it like that. At that age, they told that he was going straight away to another country, or in Spain or in Portugal. But because he was at Southampton, for me, at that time I was not working. So I can tell you that I was in.
You was taking his dinner on a Sunday.
My guy was just 1 hour and 20, so I was there, you know, it was a little bit, let's say, easy. And we're going there, and then during the weekend we can go with him to eat, etc. So it was away, yes. But I think because of that proximity, it was not really, let's say, really that bad. And when he went to Belgium and the Netherlands, because he is now a young adult, you know, he was already 20 when he went there, and after all this year in Southampton, I think it was a bit easier as well. But because we have family in Belgium as well, it was easy for us to go to Belgium and the Netherlands as well. So I think in that sense, it was hard, yes, but not that hard. But I think if he went straight away very far from us, I don't know really how we would have coped. I don't know about you, but
Generally speaking, you want them to do well.
yes.
So if they do well away from home, personally, I was absolutely fine with that. He just wanted his journey to be successful. And especially because we talked about the lows, but there were some highs as well.
Tell us about those. Tell us about the highs of this journey, because I think you're right. We, as sometimes in this industry, we kind of focus on is a lot of lows, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about some of the highs that you've experienced as parents on this journey.
Well, what football tells you is that everything can change very quickly. It's about being at the right place at the right time. And for us, one of the highs, of course, is we would never, we were ambitious for him. We were supportive, taking him to all the football games during the years pre the second batch at the academy. But quite frankly, I wouldn't have thought that he would have reached a level where he can play Chelsea academy football, because we know how competitive it is. But the high is when there is a game. Actually, what happened is there was a game at Cobham. So the coach of the grassroots team, at the end of the season, he showcased his players and helped basically. So Cobham had a lot of trialists, which they put in one team, and Lucas's team was supposed to play that team. And now the other game, they took none of their own trialists. They just picked Lucas. But to see, because he really, really played well on that game, and to see all the coaches basically say, oh, come on, we need you to sign, we need you to go, etc. That's really, we come for us, from nowhere to this, right? So that's really, that was really cool. Then when he got his first call up with the Belgian national team as well.
The under 17.
So that was cool. That was great. And then you think, because I remember taking him, because we lived next door to Cobham. So I took him to Cobham just before, let's say a few months before that. And because I told him, look, you need to come and watch this type of level of football. So he was 15. We went to watch an under 18 game. And I told him, do you see how the intensity, the technique and everything, do you think you could play there one day? He gave me an unconvincing yes. But then I remember picking him up from under 23 game of Southampton versus Arsenal. And, after in the car, told me that, and you remember you asked me, right, if I could play at that level. So these are great moments. And also at Southampton, first year of scholarship doesn't go well for him. There are a lot of kids in the group. He doesn't get game time. And then the second year of scholarship, something similar happens. He played at the under 18, and then sometimes those who don't play very much, they make them play under 17 games. Mm-hmm. So he plays one of these games, plays so well that the under 23s coach sees him and basically says, what are you doing there? Come to our group and we'll see if you survive. So all of a sudden, so he's actually never played under 18. He went from nothing to 23. So and that's why today we're still very much hopeful, and we want to carry on supporting him, because we know that he's able to make those jumps, and we know that in football it can go very fast both ways. So.
And I just want you to talk a little bit about professionals, because a lot of parents have to navigate, as you know, the business side of football, if you like. You've got agents and contracts and all of that sort of stuff. Did you get help with that stuff? Did you get agent to help you navigate all the contract stuff? How did you manage that side?
We have agents. We have one at the moment anyway. But when Lucas started, we didn't have an agent. So when he was at Chelsea, we didn't have one. Even when he started at Southampton, So it was just us. And then when he started at Southampton, we decided to get one. And it was recommended by his coach at the grassroots club, in fact. It wasn't that a big agency, but it was like a good one. But unfortunately for us, it didn't work quite well. I think the guy was really focused on some of his best player or stars player. So we didn't do that much for Lucas. And then we decided to change. It's not easy with all these agents because at the same time, when we were thinking changing, some of them were calling us, wanted to have Lucas's work. So everybody's there, everybody's like selling his agency and everything. So we didn't really knew where to go. And then that's when we went for the second one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So generally speaking, it's an interesting point you're raising because for us at the beginning, facing a football club, and especially we're talking big clubs, right? I think we were a little bit lost, a little bit naive, I would say, not realizing that some of the other players had agents. And to be fair, I mean, the football is what it is. Some agents sometimes put pressure on clubs because, they have means, etc. So somehow we felt a little bit lost and not really knowing what to do. So there are two things where we could have had a bit more wisdom. A is the fact that it is important at some point when you face such big institutions to have an agent who can really understand the ins and outs. And especially if you have an agent who knows the club very well, I think that helps a lot. And the second is obviously how to choose an agent. Because as Vanessa said, when it's sunny, they're all there. Everybody calls you, they come at phone, videos, everything. And bizarrely, when you're in the lows, exactly, not picking up the phone, etc., which is natural, right? It's like you say, it's natural. But I think, no, there are a few things we've learned. First of all, it is even when you have an agent, to realize that you have to get involved. You as parents, you're the person who cares the most
For a kid,
because we're gonna be there for thick and thin, highs and lows. And to realize that, sorry to say, but sometimes it's not the case for agents. Some agents are like that, and for some, you have to understand it. They have to make money. It's a results business, right? So if they feel that it's really going the way it should go with your child, maybe for them it's natural. They would feel, well, I have other priorities. I need to, I have a business to run. So completely understandable. But I think it's that dynamic of picking what sort of agent do I need? What are the exact needs that this agent can contribute to? Is it the legal side, reading the contract? Is it the connections? Because we need to find clubs. And I think it might be different from every child because, let's face it, I mean, Lucas had highs and lows, but we know that some children and some players don't really need to be advertised because they're just so good that it's about now maybe the nitty gritty of the contract that is more the legal aspects that can be important. So I think as a parent, having that advice of saying, okay, what of agent is good for your child at the points in their journey, I think that is very important.
Again, very wise words. It's just one of those areas that as parents, you're right, we feel a bit lost, don't we? We know that, they're an essential business. They're an essential cog in this football ecosystem. But as parents, very little support in how to, again, navigate that.
Exactly.
And hopefully we'll be helping parents to...
Yes, because I've ended up as well, as we were saying last time, because I had time. So I say, even if you have an agent, we were doing some work ourselves as well. For example, the club Lucas worked in Belgium, it was me finding the club. Wow. I was just, sometimes I would just look at the club that they are in Belgium, which one, trying to find the detail of the sporting directors and everything. So I just wrote an email to that sporting director, putting Lucas's profile, explaining his journey and everything. And they just called me back saying that they were interested. So I had that one, and then I gave it to the agent saying, you see, this club are interested in Luke, and then you can take it from there. But I've been still doing stuff as well, because I think the agent is there for your son well, but as you say that sometimes, they have other priority, but you need to be there as well.
Yeah, that's really encouraging
Yeah.
as well. And knowing that as parents, it's okay to want a seat at the table. It's okay to be involved and not to shy away from that, right?
Exactly.
Or to feel intimidated by it. And that can be something that the industry can perhaps needs to work on a little bit. So great. I mean, amazing. You actually found him a club yourself. How did that feel? Like when you got into the club that you found? I was like, woohoo! That must be amazing.
I was like, that feels really good, because you said that's a good, that's good achievement. I was really happy. And I think Lucas is as well, because he was happy to say to people that my mom found me that club. So proud. I was proud.
And on that change from, so he was in, Premier League clubs, right? Arsenal, Southampton. When he went to Belgium, did he find like the football was very different? How was the change in that? Was he playing for the international team? Maybe he already had a sense of it. What was that transition like from English football league, Premier League, into?
I think what he mentions all the time is the quality of the, let's call it, education in football academies in England. Because then you can compare with youngsters. Sometimes they were a tiny bit younger there, but not necessarily the same age, actually, when they went to Belgium. And he said, well, we go into so much level of details, the analysis, the technique. It's like, it's day and night. So basically, he was very happy to have been through, especially some very good academies like Chelsea and Southampton. Because he said, look, this is something, he said, I'm going to keep forever. Right, so the way I analyze a game, the way, all details, it keeps telling me. Even when we go and watch a Premier League game now, he said nothing happens. It looks like a big show and an entertainment. He said, but at the level of detail that goes into that, and I don't think he's found that in Belgium. So for him in Belgium, in the Netherlands, it was more about moving away from the youth setup and having a chance in the first team. What was a little bit difficult, ironically, in Belgium is the first team was doing so well. It's a team that just got promoted and immediately fought for the title. Immediately. So they fit it.
I love that story.
So it was a little bit difficult. That's why they sent him on loan, because they didn't have space to the youngster. So that was a little bit the situation there.
You see, this is the highs and lows of football, isn't it? It's like, this club just come into that league, now is the title of it. And then that means for your son, he's not going to get a spot, or they've got more money and they're going to invest. And it's when you are, the right time.
Oh, yes. The right time is crucial.
What other characteristics, we talk about right time just then, what characteristics do you see now that you've been around the game a little bit that allows a young boy like Lucas to make it to where he wants to be? We'll talk about what making it means, but what do you see about football and the industry that sets people aside from those that will progress and perhaps those will need to take a different path?
I think there's an element of discipline. I would say that would be number one for me. To really know exactly where you want to be, have a target, being mentally prepared to really go through all the difficulties, because that allows you, when you have periods of doubt, to say, well, I'm not effective. Secondly, that allows you to also put everything together. I remember, I like the way children mature, right? I remember the days where Vanessa had to call me when maybe he was 14 and he didn't want to go to one day. He didn't really feel like to go to Nigel James, etc. Today I'm tired. Now you don't see this. I really don't see this. So now whether we talk to him about diets, we talk to him about a personal trainer, everything is ready to do it. And I think that's what gives us a real confidence that still is still in there, because there's no hesitation whatsoever, which you could have sometimes for a boy his age who say, "Oh, I don't really feel like it today." No, ready. I think being ready to put that extra effort all the time. One of his, although he's an Arsenal fan, but his role model is Cristiano Ronaldo. He likes that because he likes the discipline,
Yes.
the regularity, is always ready to train, already ready to progress, already ready to improve. I think that makes that's a good asset to have, I believe.
It's like when a friend of mine told me, and I told Lucas, what he needs to do is, because you can't control everything, but you need to control the controllables. And as we say, your training, your fitness, your diet, that's what you can control. So you progress. The other things you can do that, but if the controllables, you do them well, then you can do well. Because the uncontrollables, like you don't know who will be your manager. If the manager doesn't like you, he won't play you, that you can't do nothing to that. But the rest, if you do it correctly and you control it correctly, you will be at the top of your everything, your technical side, your fitness side, your diet side. And as soon as they give you a chance, then when you take it, you got exactly. So it's always like, keep in mind that you need to control it, that you control it really well.
Great.
Did you see, just from an early age though, there's those days when they don't want to go, and especially puberty is a tough time, teenagers. But was there ever a time that you doubted it, or did he kind of keep you on track? How was that dynamic? Do you feel like you were just all in with him and pushing him through at those young ages, or do you feel like he really wanted it, and so I'm always so interested in this.
I think he still really wanted that. But sometimes, because even he will do that once in a while, but I think he still really wanted it. Because, for example, because he's really sporty, so he was doing his football, but from time to time we were telling him, instead of focusing always on football, do some other sport. So he was like, when he was after or something, he was going to a tennis camp, and he was really good as well. And then I remember he went there playing with boys who were playing tennis for a long time before he was beating them. And then one day the tennis coach came to me and said, we really love Lucas, but because he just came for after camp, we wanted to come more. As soon as he heard that, he told me, you know what, if they want me to come more to tennis, I won't have time to go to football anymore. You know what, I don't want to go to tennis anymore. So, he was like that, because in his mind, he was like, I want to be a professional footballer. Yeah. But he's still really good at tennis. But I remember he was happy to go there. And then when they told him like that, he was thinking, wait a minute. If you want me to come every day here, when we had the time, we had let's start for my football. And he told me, no, that's it. I'm not going there anymore. So I think he was he always wanted to do that. But from time to time, sometimes he was just tired, maybe. Mm-hmm. And I remember as I was saying, I was like, because it was me and him at home, I was like, Lucas, it's almost time we need to go to church. Oh, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. So me, I was like, I don't want to talk. Just taking my phone, speak to your wife, and talk to training. And then you will speak to him, blah, blah, blah. And then you will sing. And then we will go to training, yeah.
But Catherine, I think there's something interesting in what you say, because sometimes the dynamic, especially for me as a dad who's played football, maybe when I was younger also, I would have dreamt of being a professional. So you have the dynamic, who is he doing it for?
Yes.
Is he doing it for himself? Is he doing it to please his dad? Who's really leading that effort? Mm-hmm. And I think that's something where with time, I've made it very clear, right? You're doing this for yourself, right? So don't do it for us. Mm-hmm. You're doing this for yourself. And therefore, as you said, there are moments where we needed to motivate him, but you really want to see that he wants it. And I remember one day he was injured. He was injured his elbow, so that was strapped. Mm-hmm. And we said, well, you cannot play, but you can still have a one-on-one session with a coach. and it was like freezing cold. It was like -2. And the fact that I saw him, must have been 14 or 15, going there with his arm strapped and it's -2. I said, it looks like he wants it. So
Well, this is, I just love that. That's such an interesting one when you have somebody, you're raising someone with a talent, to help them progress and kind of not push, but to support. There's a really fine line, isn't there, that you have to walk between what you think should happen, what they think should happen, what the coaches think should happen. It's just, the more I hear the stories, the more I see it. And what I love about you guys is how proactive. I just think you're the most fantastic parent. I just love you. I think you've just #1 fans. Amazing. Was there ever a time that you felt like, why are we doing this? Like, was there ever a time you doubted it, or have you just...
No, me personally not. So still now, personally not. I think because he knew that he wanted to do that, he was very young. And because as well he has reached that level, I always say, even you and I, we said, for example, if you are very good at just playing in your school team and everything, that's fine. You do whatever you do. But because they came, big academy came to pick you up, the Belgian national team at your age came to pick you up as well. So you are very good. So we say, yes, it will be a pity not to pursue in that way. So we go wherever we go. So, but I decided at that time that we're gonna put all our effort to help you to do that, to achieve that, and then we'll see what happens. He's a very intelligent boy as well, on the other hand. So we told him there is no age. If we told him, you go, we will be with you. You do whatever you want. If it works, that will be fantastic. But if it doesn't, don't worry. You are a very clever boy. You will do something else. We will find you. But at the moment, because you want to do that, and we decided to help you achieving that, we will be behind you and then we will help you. So that's why we're putting all our effort in that. And because I believe in my son, yes, but I believe in him. So, and I figure I can do something really, really good.
Wonderful.
For me, it was always a question of, at some point, trying to be as objective as I can, right? So I've had moments where, because we have to realize we've been crucial years, was also during COVID time.
Yes.
All this, that has shaken up the whole thing about the young players.
It was really like that.
Yeah, I think, yes, it was really up, 23's on the up, and then all of a sudden, boom, season is over.
So
everybody comes back home. Wrong timing.
Very wrong timing.
And what I've had sometimes, I've had agents, or the agent at the moment telling me, it's very difficult, the market is tough. We've sent the profile to these clubs and nobody came back to us. So I asked the agent, I asked, look, it's my son, but do you think it's still worth the effort? We asked the agent, do you think it's still worth it? But I found from the agent say, yeah, he certainly has the abilities. We just have to keep on pushing. So there's a moment where I want to double check as well, because it's easy for us as parents to say, yes, it can be amazing, etc. But it's good to have this external confirmation where you're in moments of doubts, so that we think, well, is it just us, or does anybody else see that the potential is there? It just misses the right the right moments, let's call it.
Of course. You mentioned you have a daughter as well.
Yeah.
How has it been, sort of, again, navigating this journey with a sibling of Lucas, and is she into other? Did you have interest to the same intensity, degree? How is that balance? How have you managed to get that balance of parenting?
Yeah, I think she went, because she's 2 years younger than Lucas, but now she's 19. And then at the beginning, when we started with football with Lucas, Inaya was married very young as well. So as you might imagine, in the beginning, we were like dragging her at all. It was mainly we were going all the games that she was coming. And because she was young, she speaks a lot. So she was speaking with everybody, playing around. Everybody remembers her because she was playing around, doing cartwheels, next to her. Yes, so reading, she reads a lot. So she was reading a book a lot. And then, and at that time, she was not doing that much activities as well. And then at one point, you can imagine she stopped because she's not sporty at all. So now she's more into singing, into drama, into things like that. And then when she started to do activity as well, so we started just juggling between the two because we knew that even though Lucas was doing that, but we needed to keep an eye on him as well. So we were doing both of them. Sometimes I was going one weekend with Lucas, we're going as well. We were just doing that. And then in one point, when she started her teenage year, she decided that I'm not coming to the football anymore. But we thought, we knew, and we said, because she started to have a friend, they were doing other stuff. And then now, for example, she follows her brother. She was not coming to most of the game, but when it was big game, she would come in. Yes. But I think it was, I don't know how you say, but it was.
I think it's easy to get dragged into everybody focuses on the football. I think it's easy. Sometimes she would say, hey, I'm here.
I know, yeah.
Wow. And to be fair, right? We have friends with also a young player doing extremely well. And sometimes we realize it creates problems with siblings because sometimes the whole family's energy is focused on the athletes, let's call it. And we have to be careful making sure that everybody gets the attention, that everybody gets that emotional involvement and investment in the family, because obviously children feel it very easily, very well. So that's something we paid attention to.
Yes.
But to be fair, there were moments where naturally, when the big situation, we feel dragged into it. And that's what takes our attention.
Yeah, no, understandable. It can be quite a hard balance, can't it? Sometimes to strike, and it's great you have the two of you to support each other through that. And there are families that maybe don't, but it's a tough one.
It's a tough one, yeah, exactly.
I have a question as well around, I don't know about you, but having a son also in youth football, the one question we often get from friends and family along the way is the whole plan B. What's the plan B? How do you feel about that question? You must have been asked it, I'm sure, along the way. Tell me about your answer to the plan B question.
So, of course, everybody's asking for the plan B, especially when you're saying that, we're encountering a few difficulties. Yes, but a lot of people are also saying, well, you should start thinking. And at the end of the day, the beauty of life now is that we're not in a setup where somebody like our parents or grandparents, you have one career, you start at one age, and this is what you're going to have all your life. So at the end of the day, this is one stage of their lives. We have to give it all in the same way that somebody would be at uni now and facing difficulties at uni. Well, we would give it all. Do you need a tutor? Do you need this? How can we support that? We're not going to say, well, if you don't succeed this year, we're going to have to start. No, we give it all, right? We give it all. And they're still relatively young. So there's a moment where, as long as we manage to highlight the importance of education, that is extremely important. That's a non-negotiable. So as much as you can, and sometimes we know that once they get into the academy and set up, it's very difficult, but still managed for them to get that education is important. That whatever, what I tell you guys is, whatever your success, you're going to have to study something. Even if I don't care. Look at those players who are in the Premier League and in some of the top league. Some of them are still on the back, educating themselves in something. So as long as we have this thirst of learning, being educated, well, if you have an objective, let's give it all. Let's go for it. And we'll see about other plans once we get to the conclusion of that journey, if there is one.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I loved it. I love this. I just love the self-awareness that I heard. If there's anything people take from that, it's that kind of it sounds like you've taken time to reflect on you, Luke. You've really thought about this, and I love that. I loved hearing that. So much wisdom in this. At the end of every podcast, we love to ask parents for their advice for other parents who are gonna be navigating this journey too, with you guys. And if we could take out a billboard to the grassroots, for those big fields with 20 games, they're like the pitches like this, everyone's screaming. If you could take out billboards on those pitches or in the power leagues or in the training ground, and it would say something to the parents or the players, what would it say? You can both do one. You can both have your own billboard.
Just one. Okay.
Well, you can have a few.
I don't know.
I would say remember to enjoy the game. It's about, we have to enjoy it.
Yeah, pleasure first.
Right?
Yes.
It's tough. I have some colleagues, for example, because they know that we have a child who's in that environment, and they say, oh, my son is 7 years old, been on trial there, etc. I can't sleep because relax. Relax. Right? Remember that 7-year-old child is supposed to enjoy it first. Enjoy it first. And when they enjoy it, everything else can come. Right? And it's a long journey. We are, when we went to Chelsea, they told us we very rarely sign boys at the age of 15, especially boy you are living in our area. But that just tells you that sometimes it takes time. So it doesn't mean that strong. I know some players are from the age of 8 until, we talked about Rich James, for example, academy at 8 and all the way to the first team. But for some others, it's another journey. So relax, take the time, make sure you enjoy it. That would be mine.
Yeah, I think it should be the same as well. Just enjoy the game. Yeah, it's pleasure first. So especially for the kids on the pitch, so let them enjoy. Yeah, I think it should be the same.
Beautiful, beautiful. That is the perfect way to end this chat with you, Alain and Vanessa. Thank you so much. Honestly, so much wisdom that you shared with us today for other parents.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So we're very grateful to have you on Behind the Boots. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.